making a cabinet appointment. And now, the third dimension. This is not the only matter in which the Integrity Commission is under institutional pressure. The Prime Minister himself is pursuing a separate Supreme Court challenge filed in September 2024 against the Commission, its directors, and the constitutionality of the illicit enrichment provision in the Corruption Prevention Act itself. If that constitutional challenge succeeds, it could affect not only the PM's own matter, but the Commission's investigations into 8 parliamentarians currently under illicit enrichment probes. And throughout all of this, the Integrity Commission cannot respond. Under the Integrity Commission Act of 2017, it is prohibited by statute from commenting publicly on its own reports. It has issued no statement. It cannot defend its methodology. It cannot respond to legal challenges. The watchdog is gagged by the very law that created it. The questions for tonight are 3. First, is the Commission's methodology sound? And what happens to forecharge recommendations if Dr. Wheatley's rental income argument holds up in court? Second, should a minister facing forecharge recommendations remain in cabinet? And what does Jamaican parliamentary precedent require? Third, if the Commission can be challenged in court by the minister it investigated and simultaneously by the Prime Minister in a separate action, while being prohibited from speaking publicly in its own defense, what is left of its institutional authority? Those are the documented facts. The panel will now examine them. Jody, it's back to you.
Thanks so much, Akeem. We'll take a quick break here inside Lead Story Prime, Dr. Wheatley versus the Integrity Commission, and speak with our panel next.
Enjoy peace of mind in knowing that your hard-earned money is protected by the JDIC. That's right, the JDIC through the Deposit Insurance Scheme guarantees up to $1.2 million of your deposits in commercial banks, merchant banks, and building societies. This means your deposits, such as your savings and checking accounts, are covered. Rest easy, knowing that your deposits are secure. Your deposits always protected. For more information, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at JDICJAM or visit our website at www.jdic.org.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me. Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction, 'cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music keeps on playing, and the people never say we are march up the dance. Oh, what a feeling, don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't put it down, shine your lights on.
Welcome back to Lead Story Prime. Our topic tonight, Dr. Wheatley versus the Integrity Commission. And our guests tonight are with us for the full program. Jeanette Calder, Executive Director of the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, and Dr. Gavin Myers, Executive Principal Director of National Integrity Action. Jeanette Calder, Dr. Myers, thank you so much for joining us inside Lead Story.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's an important conversation. We pulled 2 of the most powerful civil society groups in to talk to us and to also educate us on this matter. Jeanette Calder, I start with you because JAMP, the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, has described the findings against Dr. Wheatley as among the most serious to emerge from Jamaica's integrity and anti-corruption framework. 4 charge recommendations had been made: illicit enrichment, 2 counts of false statements in statutory declarations, and a failure to provide information. Help us understand, on what documented basis does JAMP make the assessment that this is the highest we've seen?
The provision of illicit enrichment, which is really speaking to public official utilizing access to state resources or influence over state resources in whatever manner. Let me start by just saying corruption is basically the abuse of public office for personal or private gain, whether it's the public official himself, an associate, a friend or family, a colleague. That's the broad definition utilized anywhere. The Corruption Prevention Act in Jamaica is where you'll find a definition which is much more comprehensive than that. Illicit enrichment you will also find in the Corruption Prevention Act. And I want to just share with our listeners that might be thinking that this is a criminal offense that came about with the Integrity Commissions Act in 2017. The answer is no. It has been around since 2001. Which means that the government and its different anti-corruption bodies have been in a position since 2001, that's 25 years ago, to be checking to ensure that public officials are not enriching themselves off the public purse. Well, we have never had such a claim. We've never had it gotten to the point where any public official, much more a minister of government, is going to be placed before the court to be prosecuted and tried to determine innocence or guilt. So for this to be the first in 25 years, it says a lot. And the only other thing I would comment on that, Jody, is we do have other offenses in the Integrity Commissions Act and other anti-corruption legislation. But these are what we would call, and I don't want to diminish it by saying smaller offenses, but kind of, and you've mentioned them, false information, or failing to give the correct information, or refusing to give information at all, or even being late with your declaration are all offenses under the Act. But there's no way one could say that it rises to the level of an anti-corruption body saying, you have wealth you can't explain, and when you can't explain it, not only in Jamaica, but other 150 countries around the world that use the statutory declarations, it in essence does mean that you quite likely have acted corruptly if you cannot explain where you got this wealth from.
That lack of explanation is now the subject of a judicial review that has been filed before the Supreme Court. But Dr. Gavin Myers, you're representing National Integrity Action. That is the issue that has been raised before the country, and one that Jeanette Calder there from Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal has characterized as the most significant. One finding from the report by the Integrity Commission says that Dr. Wheatley was in possession of assets disproportionate to his lawful earnings. And this is something that, though Dr. Wheatley says the Director of Investigation got wrong, saying that it excluded approximately $168 million in rental income that he says he lawfully accumulated and declared. So what's the line between what's documented in the Integrity Commission report from your perspective, Dr. Myers, and what now still remains in dispute?
So, Julie, thank you for having us discuss this issue, and it's very important. And I'd just like to know that anyone who has read the report should know that Section 4.5, start at page 37, going down, gives a breakdown as to how illicit enrichment is defined, how the process comes about in terms of how they decided that this goes above what is your legally defined means and how they got there. So one of the things that is very important in how we look at this is understanding now that it is not some arbitrary move, it's not something that is just outside, but for how many years they've been working on this. And Dr. Wheatley has been on that investigation for 4 years and asking to provide different pieces of information over this time. And during all this time, it was at the end that he's now saying that all of this, it can be explained through some rental income. And I'm saying, as everyone else, Dr. Wheatley is entitled to his defense. But even more than that, from how everything has been shown, and we can speak about the cases in Hong Kong, in India, we can speak about the cases in Italy, even South Africa. The understanding of this is that whenever you see things like this happening, it is some way that a state official has been moving wealth outside of what can be explained, and it is a problem for systems. It's not just a personal problem, it's a problem for the system, because this person is either involved in some way, the lesser can be made, or that this person is involved in some way in an allowing state capture. And either way, our resources as a state are not being adequately used to serve us as a people.
And we just want to make it very clear here that we understand and appreciate that the Integrity Commission report are a set of recommendations, and this is a matter now before the Supreme Court in judicial review. So we're talking process here tonight with no determinations as to outcome. But you're explaining to us what the report does in detail and the kinds of things then that the report puts to this nation if someone has the opportunity to read it. Jeanette Calder, let me pull back here, because what Gavin Myers said, Dr. Myers said a moment ago, is that this is a system problem, a bigger problem than just an individual. And you at JAMP have raised system issues as well, saying that JAMP now in its press release had noted that Dr. Wheatley was under active investigation from the Integrity Commission for 4 years before being reappointed to the 2025 cabinet by Dr. Andrew Holness. Now, that cabinet in September of 2025 had him in the cabinet without, it seems, through Prime Minister Dr. Holness, him being aware of this investigation. At what point do we need to have the Prime Minister be aware before he makes this sort of appointment into his cabinet? Because this leads to questions that we have a year later.
Right. Well, this is one of the calls, or rather one of the suggestions and the recommendations that JAMP is making. I was trying to say to the public that I think we should go beyond just the debate as to whether or not Dr. Wheatley should remain in the cabinet. Every time we have a governance crisis, we believe we should look at it to see how can we strengthen the mechanisms, how can we learn from it. So JAMP is saying, take a look at what's happening here. We have a case where in August of 2023, the Prime Minister was asked by the media and the opposition, anybody on your team? The Prime Minister said he looked far and wide. Nobody to suggest that was the case. That's August 2023. However, what the report has shared with us is that the investigation began in March of 2021, but May the 18th, 2022, Mr. Wheatley received a notice from the Integrity Commission advising him basically that he was under investigation and he needed to come in to answer some questions about source of funds. So look at the dates. May 2022, he was advised. The Prime Minister is speaking to the nation on August 2023. At almost a year, that's more than a year in between. And the Prime Minister is placed in a position where he is recognizing that there is a need for him to know, or he would not have gone to his team and said, is anybody here under investigation? So the Prime Minister is validating a need to know, or he would not have gone. He would have said to the media reporter, that's none of my business. Here we are in 2025 when, as I said, the chickens have come home to roost and we now have a report. Please recall that you can ask, and this is me to the public, I know Jody and Gavin knows this, but once a report has been tabled in the House, the Integrity Commission can answer questions about it. So this has been verified in terms of the date when Dr. Wheatley knew. So it means that Dr. Wheatley, and I'm taking the Prime Minister at his word, no reason not to, it means that Dr. Wheatley misled the Prime Minister of Jamaica. He wasn't forthcoming. Which leads, and I'll end by saying this, leaves us to need to ask the question of Dr. Holness in this case. Have you realized that the very minister who you have told the nation this week that you still have confidence in was a part of your team who misled you and was dishonest about being under investigation, which is why JAMP is saying the gag clause is the reason why the public doesn't know who is under investigation. And since the reason we have been given for the gag clause is that the public perception is the issue, we don't want to unfairly damage any public official who might be innocent of charges too early, that means, Jody, that there should be no reason why the Prime Minister cannot be told so that he can take that privileged information into consideration when he is picking his team to make sure that he has a team that is free from any kind of integrity questions and will not be an embarrassment to him and his cabinet later down the road. That's the argument. Yeah.
Well, with that, yeah, right. For a moment there, before we take a quick break, Dr. Myers, sure, let's hear from you, because NIA must also have a position on this.
No, our position is similar, and we're going and just in this now. It's two things. One, in terms of the structured approach to the who is in the parliament, in the cabinet, we should also note that Prime Minister Holness said he has confidence in the work of Dr. Wheatley, and I'd like to know if the confidence in the work of Dr. Wheatley, it says that, or gives him room for him to say, okay, something is wrong with the cabinet institution, and we would not want someone to breach this, so he will do the right thing. And we're looking forward to the leadership from him now, because he has taken this type of action before. So this is critical that we speak about it this way. It's not something that is new. He has taken the action before.
Well,
But can I
let's just take a quick break here. Jeanette Calder and Dr. Gavin Myers, because JAMP and NIA have told us a vetting gap is documented. We'll find out now what we have as precedent, especially spoken of a moment there by Dr. Gavin Myers, when we return inside Lead Story Prime.
The greatest show on earth is here, and Fan Central goes into extra time for 39 days right throughout FIFA's Showpiece tournament, with a Pepsi in hand, of course. Catch the playbook with a tactical breakdown from our expert coaches. Come sit in our fan corner, where you have your say on the day's action. Fame or shame, who were the best or worst players of the day, and have a laugh as we share some of the best reactions on social media. After the final whistle, it's extra time. Fan Central Extra Time. 8 p.m. daily, with 10 p.m. shows on select days where there are 8 p.m. match kickoffs.
Fan Central Extra Time is brought to you by the Pepsi Football Nation, where fans make the rules. Football, better with Pepsi.
Start your journey with a Jane Bank Small Business Loan, with small business loans with as little as $10,000 and up to $4 million.
The time is 8:30.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction, 'cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music keeps on playing, and the people them I say we are march up the dance. Oh, what a feeling! Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't put it down. Shine your lights
Welcome back to Lead Story Prime. Dr. Wheatley versus the Integrity Commission. And we are rejoined by Jeanette Calder and Dr. Gavin Myers. Now, we established in the first half that the cabinet vetting process has a documented gap. Now we return to the declarations themselves and what 12 years of examination by the Integrity Commission actually produced. So let's take a look at this first, because Jeanette Calder and Dr. Gavin Myers before the break spoke about statements made by the Prime Minister in August of last year. But as early as Monday of this week, The Prime Minister had a sit-down interview on Nationwide News Network where he spoke with Cliff Hughes for his first and only interview on this discussion. Let's take a quick listen to it as we hear both Jeanette Calder and Dr. Myers make reference to that interview where the Prime Minister speaks about Dr. Andrew Wheatley.
Dr. Wheatley retains my confidence in the work that he has been doing in the Office of the Prime Minister, particularly in AI and cyber and these other areas. As it relates to the report that was tabled on him, I have read the report briefly. I have not a chance to go through it. I do intend to be briefed by the attorneys as to exactly what is stated in the report. I do, however, feel...
His attorneys or your attorneys or the government's attorneys?
The party's attorneys.
Oh, yeah. all the parties involved.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the charges that are suggested or recommended are serious charges. Now, the challenge, of course, is that no charge has yet been preferred on him. So until that point, we will observe the situation. Today, I'm going to leave here, run back to Cabinet. I expect to see Minister Wheatley there, and we will have a fulsome discussion with him directly on the report and what to expect in the future.
Given what happened in previous years with Petrojam, of which nothing came, you've reappointed him, and
Yes.
you've come under attack for doing so. Do you regret doing so now?
So you will recall that Minister Wheatley at the time resigned in the Petrojam affair, and after the 2020 election I did not reappoint him because those matters were not yet resolved. Those matters were since resolved, and therefore he was cleared to be reappointed. I was totally unaware of any report or any investigation. I am not aware of investigations that are ongoing. Mm-hmm. It seems to me that the PMP would know more about investigations ongoing than I do.
And that raises the issue, do you have confidence in the Integrity Commission?
The Integrity Commission is a necessary agency to tackle corruption in Jamaica. I believe there are changes that are necessary for it to become more effective.
You haven't said yes or no.
I believe there are changes to make it more effective.
So as of this moment, do you have confidence in it?
I believe there are changes that are necessary.
It needs fixing.
Precisely. And this is not just my opinion. I believe that the Integrity Commission itself has suggested changes that would make it more effective.
And that's an interview with Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness on Monday of this week with Cliff Hughes on Nationwide News Network. The Prime Minister's only interview where he has discussed this matter concerning Dr. Andrew Wheatley, who continues to remain, as at this moment, as far as we're aware, a member of Dr. Holness's cabinet. Jeanette Calder. The Integrity Commission report found omissions across 4 separate declaration years, 5 undisclosed loans, an undisclosed company investment, and incomplete particulars relating to 20 properties. Now, this system was designed to detect exactly this type of pattern, but how do we go 12 years without triggering earlier intervention, therefore allowing for the Prime Minister to say he was not aware?
Right, and that is one of the 4 recommendations. I spoke of one earlier. I think our report, our press release had said that when we have a regime where anyone can evade through omission, and I'm just taking from the report here, whether through omission, misrepresentation, failure to provide information across 12 years, it's troubling that we don't pick it up. And then it's also a little troubling that the investigation itself still takes 5 years. Now, here's one of the things I think that has been confusing the public. So I think we should clarify this. The Integrity Commission has not been around for 12 years. We did have an institution before, believe it or not, called the Integrity Commission still, that was responsible for processing statutory declarations. Statutory declarations have been around since 1973. In the case of Dr. Wheatley was not an MP before 2011. So sometimes when the report refers to before that, they're wondering what's the relevance. Well, from 2003, I believe, to 2011, he was a councillor / mayor. So for that entire period, and I'll give you one quick example, Jody. For that entire period, it became relevant to the report simply because there was a property that was purchased at a particular time when he was, property sold at a business sold at a time when he was mayor councillor. And what the report tells us is that there were, I think, 6 years where there ought to have been declarations about this, but there was none. There was just no declarations whatsoever. I'm sorry about that. So I'm saying all of that to say there was a period prior to this Integrity Commission that institution no longer exists. I'm expecting this Integrity Commission to do better, but we still need to have the Integrity Commission Oversight Committee looking at this matter.
And that matter is what? That we had a longer period of time where nothing had been triggered?
My apologies for the dogs. The issue as to why do the investigations take this long, and can we be reassured that the problems that existed previously with the previous Integrity Commission will not repeat itself now?
You heard the Prime Minister a moment ago, Jeanette Calder. Before I go to Dr. Myers, what was your reaction to hearing the interview where he has now made statements about Dr. Wheatley and as well about the Integrity Commission?
I was disappointed. I'm disappointed for the simple reason that for me personally as a citizen, one of the reasons I took on JAM had everything to do with what the Prime Ministerial candidate at the time in 2015 said. I'd always had an interest in anti-corruption matters, in particular procurement. And when the Prime Minister signaled back then that this was going to be his platform for change in Jamaica, a citizen like myself thought this was the time for an idea such as this. Now, for the last 10 years, we have had certain instances where the Prime Minister has demonstrated a willingness to hold his team members to account in the absence of even an investigative report, Jody. So I've shared in the past, and we've been talking about Dr. Wheatley in light of the 2018 matters. None of these charges were laid, nothing as serious as this. But we've also looked at the matter of Minister J.C. Hutchinson, who was demoted for having been involved and influencing the lease that was given to his partner. He said he had no influence, and then we discovered a letter where he wrote to the Ministry of Agriculture and he was demoted. The Prime Minister didn't wait an investigative report. That was unacceptable. And then, of course, most of us will remember during COVID, the unfortunate situation with Minister Floyd Green. That was about misconduct. Again, not an investigative report, but the Prime Minister demonstrated what his standard and the threshold was by holding him to account. Therefore, it boggles the imagination, it boggles the mind as to how we can get to a report such as this. And the Prime Minister, at this point in time, has not familiarized himself with it, but is asking us that made the statement, that, and this is very important, making the statement that he has not yet been charged. The Integrity Commission has the powers under Section 34 to prosecute and lay charges. It doesn't have to go to the police. Why would the Prime Minister needing to wait until he is charged for the Prime Minister to be definitive about what is acceptable in terms of integrity in his cabinet?
Well, let me pull in Dr. Gavin Myers here in this conversation. Dr. Myers, having heard now what it is that we're hearing from Jeanette Calder from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, first, what is your response to the Prime Minister's statement and to what Jeanette Calder is saying, that in other circumstances, precedents set by Dr. Holness didn't require him to hear about the laying of the charges, but instead take action that would have helped calm some of the minds of Jamaicans, but also have him be understood as a definitive leader making these sorts of determinations even without formal charges being laid. Dr. Myers.
So it is important I will look at it and really give Dr. Holness is the his props for over the years standing up and saying, look here, this cannot happen in my cabinet. And we're expecting him to continue with that. And Dr. Holness has been showing up that he's one of those persons who is no nonsense in terms of not wanting this as a part of his cabinet. These examples are there. I'll just maybe comment on another point. You know, for the FSC, anyone managing or controlling any form of...
And that's the Financial Services Commission responsible for regulating the financial sector.
Yes. They require fit and proper. And a part of the fit and proper is a clean bill of health. You must be of integrity and good character.
So this is a document that persons are asked to fill out saying who you are, do you have any charges before court, are you being investigated for anything to see if you are fit.
Answer honestly. And without answering honestly, you're also kicked off because you're not fit and proper. This happens in the banking industry. This happens at different levels. If on the Financial and Appropriations Act also requires about the fit and proper. And we want to say that this situation, if it were with any one of them, this would also require them to step aside. I'm saying that we're expecting the greatness to continue from everyone, and we're holding people to a standard that is the right standard. We don't want anyone to call any member of our cabinet corrupt. We don't want any shred of evidence anywhere, and it should not be in the Prime Minister's cabinet at all. So that's why we're holding him to his word and to his work. We're saying that there is no difference, or there should be no difference with Dr. Wheatley, as has happened before in the evidence that has been shown.
Can I add one more thing there, Joe?
Let's take a quick break here, have those additional statements, but also look at the pressure that is now being placed on the Integrity Commission itself. Next, inside Lead Story Prime.
In need of a loan? AIM Financial is the place to go. We have loans from $20,000 to $3.3 million. Get a loan to pay school or college tuition, medical expenses, bills, fix up your house, buy furniture and appliances, repair or buy a car. And when you're done, take a vacation loan. AIM has a loan for any purpose. Call AIM today. You won't find a better deal elsewhere. Guaranteed.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Hey, what up, one? Hi, I am Candy Pang.
What a guan?
What a guan?
That a guan pa.
What a guan? What a guan? What a guan? Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
That's a guan pa. What a guan?
Welcome back to Lead Story Prime. We're discussing Dr. Wheatley versus the Integrity Commission. And we're back with Jeanette Calder and Dr. Gavin Myers. Now, we spent the first half of the program examining what the Integrity Commission found and what the defense disputes. Now let's turn our lens on the commission itself. Because tonight the watchdog is not only doing its work, it's fighting for its institutional life. Jeanette Calder, before the break, given what Dr. Maz said you wanted to then respond, let us hear that, because it's going to be important as we have this back and forth, not only to talk about what it found, but also the Integrity Commission itself.
Yeah, so very quickly, thank you, Jody, for the chance to. I just wanted to say that it's been years. I mean, I've been doing this kind of job since 13 years now. But certainly since Dr. Holness became the Prime Minister, a question that I've been asking, and usually through this kind of medium, is what does accountability look like to the PM? And I think it's a fair statement because I might have a definition. Gavin might have, you, Jody, might have, the members of the public might have. And I think it's only fair that we are measuring Dr. Holness's keeping of his promise by what Dr. Holness intends to do. And what I mean by that is, in as much as I was able to speak to other members of, his team in Parliament where he has held to account, there have been several others where I had anticipated some accountability and there was none. So there is a certain level of discretion in terms of the Prime Minister's response in dealing with his team when these reports are out. So one of the recommendations and suggestions Jamp is making is that we need to move away from the discretion. I think we need to have a clear framework in place outlining what we are to expect from the Prime Minister or what the Prime Minister is prepared to do at different thresholds. Allegation in some countries is enough for a minister to step away. Certainly, we would like to know when a report has certain findings, what can we expect from the head of the cabinet? No, we're not tying the Prime Minister's hands, so we're not putting something in law, but we think there should be a framework so there is some consistency so that the standards are known, the process is understood, and the public can assess for themselves whether or not the standard or the definition of the Prime Minister for accountability is being applied fairly and consistently. I think it's time we get away from the what is going to happen. We know what will happen and we can count on the PM. I know what to expect. I just wanted to be able to add that as another recommendation.
A useful recommendation, and one that I'll put to Dr. Gavin Myers now, because National Integrity Action has also been watching this matter. And the Integrity Commission is tonight operating under simultaneous legal pressure from two directions, because Dr. Wheatley has pushed back. He's filed a judicial review application against the 2026 report. And the Prime Minister is separately pursuing a Supreme Court challenge himself, filed in September 2024, that contests the constitutionality of the illicit enrichment provision in the Corruption Prevention Act itself. So let's talk about the architecture, Dr. Myers. Has Jamaica's integrity architecture ever faced this volume of concurrent challenge? Because some are saying you can't quite remove Dr. Wheatley if he is pushing back, fighting back, and has now brought a legal challenge. And the person that is being asked to remove him has a challenge with the Integrity Commission itself. We heard that in the clip a moment ago with him speaking with Nationwide. What's the NIA's assessment?
Messy political medal. We're in that type of space where before this, we have never seen it anywhere across CARICOM. We have not seen it across the Caribbean. It's a very modest space. In fact, there's only one other country I can think of at present where this is happening. In fact, two. And both countries, United States of America and Israel, are countries with a different type of space with different type of leadership who have been asking and doing different things. And I don't think we'd want to go down that rabbit hole. However, the point that we would like to make is that
and let me just put in context for those who don't know, Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, is facing now charges that it is unclear as to how those will be resolved as he's sitting Prime Minister. And you're speaking as well of President of the United States, Donald Trump, who has had several charges now laid against him and continues to battle those in court.
Yes. So those two situations shows up how tight the legal system is with the executive system. And in a parliamentary democracy, the Prime Minister sits at the top of the executive and also as a part of the legislative. And his position as to whether he will follow the laws and carry out the laws of Jamaica is very critical to hold it together as a glue. So when being asked, and I find being asked the question as to whether he has confidence in the laws of Jamaica and the institutions of Jamaica as a very strange question on the first, and even more, him being asked and his answer being generally, the first answer is yes, I have confidence in the structures and systems of Jamaica. So being asked this question and having any other answer is one in and of itself really difficult for us to countenance. But even more than that, being asked this question as someone who is actively taking steps to carry them to court is unheard of in our parliamentary democracy. And continuing on that, any member of the cabinet doing this is also unheard of in any one of our parliamentary democracies. So it is something that is we're in that type of space that it will take a lot of nuts to remove it. But there's another thing that is happening, which is the political pressure that is being heaped upon the Integrity Commission and the civil servants of Jamaica. The type of political pressure that is being brought to bear is both unconscionable and very difficult. In fact, there's another situation that I'd like to make a comment towards. The situation related to the leadership of the International Criminal Court and how they have even though they're doing their jobs, they have been taken to task by certain countries and certain states for just doing their jobs. It's that type of situation I would find now in Jamaica. And I'd like to know from Jamaicans if they are comfortable seeing this type of pressure being heaped upon the civil servants who are doing their jobs. These are civil servants that are doing their jobs.
But Dr. Myers, there are some who are saying those same watchdogs, those same guards need to have questions asked of them. They're not perfect either. And while the Integrity Commission cannot respond, those civil servants are not able to respond, that the Prime Minister has said there is a framework in which there are now changes contemplated. These are processes that we now have currently underway. Is there anything wrong with saying, having learned now from how it is being executed, there might need to be amendments?
There are certain, the Integrity Commission is a creature of humans. There must be flaws. There will be flaws. However, I am saying that if you are taking them to court, you are also saying that I have no confidence in that. So your word there, what should I take your word as? As the Prime Minister, or do I take you as someone who is taking them to court? That is where we are now. We're asking whether it is that the Prime Minister is acting as the Prime Minister in this, or he's acting as someone who is taking the Integrity Commission to court. And we would not want to be in that position. That's a very invidious position to be in.
All right.
That's a very invidious position to be in.
As somebody who is both litigating against the Integrity Commission and now being asked to abide by its determinations of one of its own. This is indeed something that the country has to look at. The Prime Minister having made decisions already with J.C. Hutchinson and Floyd Green. But we now are at the close of this discussion, one that looks at not only the report, but the Integrity Commission and the architecture that we have here in Jamaica. Final word first to you, Jeanette Calder, in about a minute as we close. Help Jamaicans better understand then what it is that they're looking at as they look at an issue like this.
Well, I would just want to say, I've heard the argument about the Prime Minister not having the moral authority. I'm going to leave that to citizens to determine, but what I will say is that he has a legal authority. He certainly can exercise his legal authority and do what I think is the right thing. We need to have public confidence in the cabinet, and when we don't have public confidence, institutions break down, people feel less inclined to obey laws. Whistleblowers feel less inclined to speak because what's the point? It's just a disintegration of order, and let's not even talk about what we want to leave behind as an example for the children. So I do not think the two cases are the same. My Prime Minister has not been charged of illicit enrichment. So I am going to conclude definitively unequivocally that I'm hoping that come by Monday, when the Prime Minister is back here in Jamaica, he's going to do what I believe is the right thing. Dr. Wheatley has right to due process. That is a separate matter altogether. And if he's pronounced innocent at the end of that process, we welcome him back into the service and into the cabinet.
Dr. Gavin Myers, final word to you.
I would say anyone should read from page 83 to page 89 of the Integrity Commission's report on Dr. Wheatley, and they would see how it is that they moved through the process and how they reached their conclusion. I'd like to also say that the Prime Minister has the full confidence, and he is the person who makes the decisions as to who sits in his cabinet or not. And his confidence, or his lack of confidence, or his change in confidence is a critical part of the process, and the changes are needed for us to understand and to continue doing the work that is needed at this moment. He's in Suriname and Ghana now doing great work, and we need to continue doing that. And we do not want to be distracted by having someone who is a part of the cabinet, who is there and still is facing serious charges of illicit enrichment that we have had unheard of before.
Well, that's it for tonight's discussion on Dr. Wheatley versus the Integrity Commission. Jeanette Calder, the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, and Dr. Gavin Myers of National Integrity Action. Your analysis tonight has been forensic, it's been fair, and it's now on public record. Lead Story Prime thanks you both.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you.
I'm Jody Ann Quarry. And on behalf of the entire CVM production team, thank you for watching Lead Story Prime. Have a fantastic evening, and I hope you stay safe. Up next, Fan Central Extra Time, and that begins at 9:10. Good evening.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Hi, I am Candy Pang.
What a guan?
What a guan?
That a guan, pa.
What a guan?
What a guan? What a guan? Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
That's a guan, pa. What a guan?
So when I wake up in the morning, I say a word of prayer. Tap, 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 tap. Yo, this is yours truly, The Image, and I'm representing for CVM. See it happen. You hear that? CVM what? See it happen.